You think British poverty cooking was just bland survival food, dismissed by nutritionists as unhealthy and unsophisticated compared to proper cuisine from respectable kitchens? Think again. Challenge your deepest assumptions about what constitutes healthy eating and genuine nutritional wisdom. Working-class families across Britain developed remarkable techniques that took modern nutrition science decades to validate through rigorous laboratory research and clinical studies. These methods were mocked by experts, banned from respectable kitchens, and nearly lost forever when industrial food promised progress and modern convenience. Here are 30 cooking tricks science now calls pure genius. Spreading beef dripping on bread was the breakfast that kept working families fueled through grueling factory shifts and bitter winters when central heating did not exist. What middle-class Victorians dismissed as disgusting poverty food that no respectable family would serve, scientists now recognize delivered essential fat-soluble vitamins that processed spreads simply cannot match. The rendered fat from Sunday roast was saved religiously in ceramic crocks beside the stove, ready for spreading thick on fresh bread and sprinkling with coarse salt. Research confirms that beef dripping contains vitamins A, D, E, and K, in forms the body absorbs readily. The fat also provides conjugated linoleic acid, a compound researchers now link to improved metabolic health. Those families gathering around kitchen tables were not eating desperation food. They were consuming concentrated nutrition their hard-working bodies desperately needed to fuel another demanding day. Simmering bones for hours was dismissed as making something from nothing by people who threw kitchen scraps into rubbish bins without a second thought. Yet British grandmothers knew that a pot of bubbling bones produced liquid gold that no shop-bought product could ever match. Scientists now understand that extended cooking extracts collagen, which converts to gelatin, and releases amino acids like glycine and proline, nutrients that support joint health and gut function. The slow simmer draws calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus from marrow into a broth that instant stock cubes cannot replicate. Families would save every chicken carcass and ham bone, transforming them into the foundation for soups, stews, and gravies that stretch budgets while maximizing nourishment. What seemed like stretching poverty into soup was actually a sophisticated extraction of nutrients that modern collagen supplements now sell at premium prices. Soaking porridge oats overnight was considered unnecessary fuss by those who preferred quick cooking and modern convenience above all else. Yet Scottish and Northern English families insisted the practice transformed their breakfast entirely into something far more satisfying. Food scientists now confirm that overnight soaking activates enzymes that reduce phytic acid, which otherwise blocks mineral absorption in the digestive tract. The extended hydration allows beta-glucan fiber to fully develop, creating a thick, creamy texture that keeps hunger satisfied for hours while supporting healthy cholesterol levels. Research shows oats contain unique antioxidants called avenanthramides that may help regulate blood pressure. What seemed like patience born of old habit was precision nutrition that trendy overnight oats have merely rediscovered. Cooking with cast iron pans was standard in working-class kitchens long before scientists discovered that the heavy pans actually fortified food with dietary iron through a simple chemical process. Research confirms that acidic foods such as tomatoes and stewed fruits cooked in cast iron absorb significant amounts of the mineral, helping prevent anemia in communities with limited access to expensive red meat. Those black pans, passed down through generations, were doing double duty as cookware and nutritional supplements. Grandmothers seasoned their skillets with lard and dripping, building a natural nonstick coating that modern chemists struggled to replicate safely. What seemed like stubborn attachment to old equipment was actually a health intervention disguised as kitchen tradition. Saving every precious drop of bacon grease was condemned as an unhealthy habit that would clog arteries and shorten lives, according to modern dietary wisdom. Yet British cooks never stopped straining those golden drippings through cheesecloth into jars beside the stove. Modern research reveals that rendered pork fat remains remarkably stable at cooking temperatures that cause vegetable oils to break down and produce harmful compounds. Scientists discovered that animal fats contain fat-soluble vitamins that heavily processed oils lack entirely. That humble ceramic crock held more nutritional intelligence than decades of misguided dietary advice ever acknowledged. Cooking cabbage for hours was once mocked as destroying vegetables into gray mush, unfit for civilized tables where proper cooking was expected. Still, working families knew something nutritionists took generations to understand. Extended cooking breaks down tough cellulose fibers that digestive systems struggle to process, releasing nutrients that quick-cooked vegetables keep locked away. The long simmer also destroys goitrogens that can interfere with thyroid function when consumed raw. What seemed like overcooking was actually maximizing what bodies could extract from every precious leaf. Drinking the cooking water from boiled vegetables made outsiders grimace with disgust, yet British families treasured every drop of that murky liquid and never wasted it. Modern nutrition research confirms the cooking water contains concentrated vitamins and minerals that leach from vegetables during boiling. Scientists found this liquid holds water-soluble vitamins B and C that would otherwise disappear down the drain. Families soaked bread in it, added it to gravies, or drank it straight from cups, capturing nutrition that wasteful middle-class cooks discarded without thought. Section 1 of 3. What doctors now call nutrient-dense broth. Working families simply called pot liquor, and they never wasted a single precious drop. Using suet in puddings and pastries was dismissed as adding unhealthy animal fat, when modern shortenings and margarines promised cleaner, more sophisticated alternatives. Yet British bakers knew that beef suet created textures and flavors that no vegetable fat could ever match. Scientists now understand that suet renders slowly during the cooking process, creating layers of flaky pastry and moist pudding interiors that lighter fats simply cannot achieve. The fat from around beef kidneys contains stearic acid, which research shows may not raise cholesterol levels in the same way as other saturated fats. Traditional Christmas puddings relied on suet for their characteristic density and richness. What seemed like clinging to old ways in defiance of progress was actually choosing superior ingredients that industrial alternatives never truly replaced, despite decades of marketing promises. Eating black pudding was perhaps the most mocked and reviled of all British working-class foods. Blood sausage made squeamish observers recoil in horror at the very thought of consuming it. Yet this humble breakfast item has been recognized by nutritionists as containing more iron, protein, and essential nutrients than many expensive health foods sold in modern shops. Scientists confirm black pudding provides zinc, potassium, calcium, and magnesium in highly bioavailable forms that the body absorbs readily. The oatmeal binding adds soluble fiber, while the blood delivers iron that effectively prevents anemia. What once seemed like desperate consumption of waste products that respectable people would never touch has been labeled a superfood by nutrition researchers. They finally measured what working families always felt in their strengthened, energized bodies after a proper English breakfast. Preparing tripe required hours of meticulous cleaning and slow cooking that modern cooks considered far beneath their dignity and certainly not worth the effort. Yet the stomach lining of cattle delivered something genuinely special that quick cooking muscle meat could not provide. Scientists now recognize tripe as an excellent source of collagen and protein, while being remarkably low in fat compared to other cuts. The slow cooking process converts tough, rubbery tissue into tender, easily digestible protein that actively supports gut health and digestive function. Families who could not afford prime cuts, like sirloin or ribeye, were actually eating one of the most nutritionally complete proteins available anywhere. What seemed like making do with unpleasant scraps that butchers could barely give away was accessing nutrition that expensive steaks simply could not provide. Liver and onions appeared on working-class tables weekly, dismissed by wealthier families as poor people's protein that no respectable household would serve to guests. Yet this simple, humble dish delivered more concentrated nutrition than almost any other single meal available. Scientists confirm liver contains extraordinary levels of vitamin B12, iron, vitamin A, and folate in quantities that dwarf what muscle meat provides. The onions accompanying the liver provided prebiotic compounds that feed beneficial gut bacteria while helping the body absorb iron more efficiently through enhanced bioavailability. What seemed like cheap sustenance eaten only because families could afford nothing better was actually one of the most nutrient-dense meals possible, delivering essential vitamins in forms the body can readily use. Fermenting vegetables in earthenware crocks was a practice that predated the word probiotic by centuries. Long before scientists understood that beneficial bacteria existed, British families kept jars of pickled cabbage, onions, turnips, and beets, which provided vegetables through the winter months when nothing fresh grew in frozen gardens. Scientists now understand that lactofermentation produces beneficial bacteria that support gut health, immune function, and even mental well-being through the gut-brain connection. The process also increases bioavailability of vitamins while preserving food without refrigeration or any modern technology. What seemed like simple preservation born of necessity before iceboxes existed was actually sophisticated food science that modern probiotic supplements struggle to replicate despite their hefty price tags. Section 2 of 3, eating dripping toast fueled morning shifts before the full English became standard. Rendered beef fat on toast provided sustained energy without the crash that sugary breakfasts cause. Scientists now understand that fat slows gastric emptying, keeping workers satisfied through demanding physical labor. The toast provided carbohydrates, while the dripping delivered vitamins and stable calories. What seemed like a poverty breakfast was optimized fuel for bodies that worked harder than nutritionists imagine. Adding vinegar to cooked greens puzzled those unfamiliar with working-class kitchen wisdom. But that splash of acid served purposes beyond flavor. Scientists now confirm vinegar helps preserve vitamins during cooking, while increasing absorption of minerals like iron and calcium. The acidic environment protects nutrients from degradation. What seemed like arbitrary seasoning was chemical optimization, ensuring bodies extracted maximum nutrition from every leaf. Eating kippers for breakfast delivered omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D that gray British winters otherwise denied. The smoked herring required no refrigeration and provided complete protein with healthy fats that sustained morning energy. Scientists recognize that populations consuming oily fish regularly showed better cardiovascular health and stronger bones. The smoking process added beneficial compounds while preserving fish for storage. What seemed like humble smoked fish was preventive medicine disguised as breakfast. Cooking with trotters, tails, and skin was considered the lowest form of meat consumption. Yet these collagen-rich cuts delivered benefits lean muscle meat cannot provide. Scientists confirm gelatin from slow-cooked skin and joints supports gut lining, joint health, and skin elasticity. The amino acids, glycine and proline, support sleep quality and tissue repair. What seemed like scraping the barrel was accessing building blocks. Modern supplements sell at premium prices. Lancashire Hot Pot brought together mutton, potatoes, onions, and kidneys in a single pot, which simmered while families worked. Sliced potatoes on top absorbed the rich cooking liquids, while their edges crisped into crunchy pieces that children fought over. Scientists understand this complete meal delivered protein, carbohydrates, vegetables, and organ nutrients in perfect balance. The long cooking extracted every nutrient while creating satisfying flavor, warming bodies on cold nights. What seemed like simple peasant food was nutritional completeness achieved through one-pot wisdom. Spotted dick and other suet puddings were dismissed as stodgy desserts with no nutritional value. Yet these steamed puddings delivered sustained energy, keeping workers warm through bitter winters. The suet rendered slowly, creating a moist texture, while dried fruit provided natural sugars and fiber. The steaming process preserved nutrients that baking would destroy. What seemed like indulgent poverty food was caloric density optimized for bodies, burning energy just to stay warm. Faggots transformed pig liver, heart, and belly into seasoned meatballs wrapped in caul fat. This dish used every scrap while delivering concentrated nutrition. Scientists confirm the organ combination provided complete proteins, B vitamins, iron, and essential fatty acids in one humble package. The sage and onion seasoning offered digestive benefits. What seemed like waste transformation was nutritional alchemy, and butchers now charge premium prices to recreate. The simple meal of bread and dripping sustained generations through hard times and harder work. Fresh bread, spread thick with beef fat and sprinkled with salt, delivered exactly what laboring bodies needed. Bread provided quick energy, while dripping supplied fat-soluble vitamins and lasting satiation. Scientists now say this simple meal was metabolically superior to many modern processed breakfast options. What seemed like poverty on a plate was nutritional efficiency perfected through necessity. Adding milk to tea seemed merely cultural until scientists examined the chemistry. Research suggests milk proteins may bind with tea compounds, affecting nutrient absorption and digestive comfort. The ritual also ensured regular calcium intake in populations that might otherwise lack dairy. What seemed like a simple preference was potentially a nutritional habit embedded in daily ritual. The Sunday roast represented working-class cooking at its most complete. The joint rendered dripping for the week ahead, while vegetables roasted in those juices and absorbed fat-soluble vitamins. Yorkshire puddings caught more drippings. Gravy captured every nutrient from the pan, and leftovers became Monday's hash or Tuesday's sandwiches. Scientists recognize this as closed-loop nutrition, where nothing was wasted and everything was optimized. What seemed like making one joint stretch was systematic nutrient capture that modern meal planning struggles to match. Which cooking trick from your British grandmother's kitchen do you now see differently? Drop your memories in the comments. Hit like and subscribe for more forgotten wisdom that science has finally validated.